But he does come in an area where you wouldn't actually expect, you know. But you can see it's the arm of the Lord that actually caused this to happen. He's the one who, by his own strength, has actually brought salvation. Christ came as a root out of dry ground. We have the line of David was still preserved, but they were not ruling at this time. Yet God kept his promise. And now we have a king who will rule on David's throne into eternity, just as God promised David he would. And not an expected time for him to come. Like I said, he was despised and yet bore our griefs. Now you see this in verse 3 and 4. He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrow and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. So we held him of no value. And you see that directly with the Jews as Christ came. They did not hold him of value for who he was. Even though he did incredible things in their presence. Christ was wounded for our transgressions and crushed for our perversities. Now you see this in verse 5, where it says, but he was wounded for our transgressions. Now, of course, this is talking about Israel, because Israel is relating to Israel directly. But we also know that as a result of Christ's death for sins and resurrection, salvation is now even able to come to the Gentiles. But this is where it's prophesied about, that he is actually going to die. Now, their transgressions relate to the law,